the Voices of the Devils podcast. Today we are going to discuss about the women's team for Manchester United, and mainly the focus will be on the new manager which has come in into the transfer window, as well as the outgoings, incomings. What will be the formation and how the season will be developing? So, Roshan, firstly, what are your thoughts about Stoney going out and getting replaced by a new manager? Because players were very familiar with that. There was a lack of like communication between the higher authorities and the manager. The facilities were not as per planned. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, a lot has been made of that in the previous year, thanks to the previous season where we ended up top of the table by Christmas, and then everything started falling out of place a bit. We obviously missed out on the Champions League by just 1 point, owing to a couple of slightly needless losses, but Casey herself took it as a personal failure. Obviously, when she left, huge shockwaves around the club, huge shockwaves around the fans. Obviously, a lot of rumors about the facilities being substandard. The 10 minutes walk to but yeah, since then she's seemed to do pretty well for herself. She's gone to USA, got a job there, and now Marc Skinner has come in, former Birmingham City and Orlando Pride manager, and he's made a pretty good first impression of himself in the initial press conferences and also during the friendlies. He's very much into getting the team spirit back together at Manchester United. He's very much into cohesiveness, and
He's pretty
basically,
vocal, is what I understand from the his press conference. Because like Stoney was there, she used to support, but she always had that like favoritism kind of thing going around her. But when it came to Skinner talking about the club, it was more about like what is the hierarchy and how is the structure and how he wants to develop his team into. So that is a big difference.
yeah, he very much respects what the board's plans for the club are, even if things didn't work out previously. He said before, like, he understands like what's been written about the club, but since he stepped in, all he's felt is love and support from all four corners. Obviously, he's even had communication from the men's manager as well. Solskjaer actually
Only
messaged him on the
definitely
day
he
the will
welcomed
arrived.
him is what.
He welcomed him indeed,
Yeah.
yeah. Like he said, it was on a Friday that Marc Skinner emailed everyone, said, "Hi guys, I'm the new manager," and even Ollie responded saying, "Sure, like let's talk a bit." So it's a very welcoming atmosphere around Marc Skinner. He's very excited to be on board,
Yeah.
and especially to meet the fans. Obviously, they did meet him during the Rangers friendly up in Scotland, which was a really awesome sight to see. And yeah, he is very much he is very eager
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
things going in an official
And
aspect under Manchester
talking
United.
about like him and Oleg greeting him, it won't be a surprise that he's also a fan of 4-2-3 when going into the season, and the likes of wing play more like more of like the wingers getting into the game, and also central penetration is also an aspect of the game. But he's what I can understand from you, and we had a couple of discussions and going through social media. So he has a like adaptable nature when it comes to this formation and also the team or whatever the squad depth he has.
Yeah, pretty much. Like you said, his preferred formation is 4-2-3-1. He's done a bit of that with Birmingham and with Orlando as well. And in the friendlies, we've already seen it coming into play. Like you said, he does love to start his attacks on the wide side. So it's really good that he has the likes of, Onabasie to help with that, and Galton and Hansen, all players who have started last season and
Yeah,
all who are ready to get rolling. And yeah, like you said, his adaptability is one thing that he prides himself on, because he doesn't just want to have, fixed and what should I say, rigid tactics in
yeah.
a way, because
He's not
obviously the match
adamant, to be
situation depends.
honest. He's
He's
not
he's not an
adamant.
adamant guy at all, yeah. Especially when it comes to defensive structure and in the build-up phases where he instructs one of the fullbacks to fly high and the other to come in as part of a back three. So that does help a second holding midfielder to be involved in the build-up, which is something that we've seen slightly in the friendlies and something to be eager about to look forward to in the season.
Yeah. Talking about friendlies, like we almost had like 4 to 5 matches which the team played around. Like the first we started off with, I guess, Liverpool, and then came Aston Villa, Rangers, Brighton. Was that the last, or like we had
Yeah,
one more
the
after
Brighton
that?
the Brighton friendly was the last game to prepare
Okay,
for the season.
okay.
Yeah.
Because like in Manchester United versus Liverpool, it was like 2-2 going into the whenever United and Liverpool clash, may that be men's team or the women's team or academy, it is always a bigger fixture. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts
yeah,
about
I
that?
can I consider it quite symbolic actually, because if you remember, Manchester United versus Liverpool was the first match of Casey Stoney's reign as well.
Yeah.
It was Lizzie Arnott who got the goal back
Yes.
then, and now it's the first game in Marc Skinner's reign that ended in a 2-2 draw. Liverpool took the lead quite early on, but then within 2 minutes, in the 20 and 21st minutes, it was Galton and Hansen who overturned the game in our favour. And despite there was a flurry of substitutions at halftime, which saw many debuts, many promotions from the academy as well. But we still managed to hold on until maybe the last 10 minutes, and then I think it was Humphreys got the equalizer, Carla Humphreys, in the
For the
death.
Liverpool. Yeah. And the second match was a pretty clean match with 2-0 against Aston Villa, Thomas and Hansen getting on the score sheets. But the main thing which I want to talk about was the match against Rangers, because it was a 5-0 victory and it was an away game. And the name which strikes first was Katie Zelem with a couple of goals. That was a big name which I felt we were lacking when in the starting two matches. And then she came in with a big name and definitely on the goal sheet.
Yes, Zella has done very well for herself in this preseason, and she's already striking a bit of a partnership with a new signing, Wildeburry, so we'll talk about her later. But yeah, that whole camp, that week-long camp in Scotland, it definitely gave us a real aspect of what life would be like with the fans back. They obviously made the trip up to the Rangers training centre, and that entire match was unreal. Like Zella pretty much brought out her best hits. She got on the score sheet in the first 10 minutes itself with a superb free kick. And then her second goal, which was a result of brilliant combination play down the left-hand side on Abatia and Alatoun finding Zalem. And if you can think of a spectrum in terms of power between, bear with me on this, Bruno Fernandes against Everton and Eric Cantona versus Sunderland. Those two have been compared, but obviously their power, like the range of power in the shot is similar. I think you can put Katie Zellem somewhere in between that.
That is a big
That's
name. That is a big
it is
name.
it is a big comparison to make. But if you watch the goals back again, it was very nice to
Yeah.
see. Then obviously we had Saniforth and our wingers Galton
And
Hansen back on the score
you
sheet.
cannot take them away from the goal scoring.
You can't,
Efforts.
especially
Hansen and Galton.
they've both been incredible like in this preseason. They've both been really energetic, especially Hansen. I'm very excited to see how she develops throughout the season, because last year, like I think the year before last, in our first WSL season, she didn't have as much involvement, but last season she definitely increased in her productivity. Her
Yeah.
best goal scoring season in the WSL out of the two, 5 goals and 2 assists there, and she's already scored 3 in these 4 preseason games. So
And
she's
it's more of
definitely
like a influential player into the team. Integrate it is like Skinner is trying to integrate the players which are around, like, because when you see the players like individual like Kitty Zanem, like Hansen or Galton, like individual these players are tremendous, but when it comes to making the stars turn up into a bigger team, because it matters when 11 play together, so not just the Cristiano or the Messi of the team. So definitely that is a main aspect what I feel is into the game what Skinner needs to bring.
exactly, and I feel we've seen that already in terms of the cohesiveness and in terms of the purpose with
Yeah,
the ball, because only last season, as great as she was, I feel like with the injuries, of course, you could kind of sense that there wasn't a real plan in place on how to build around that in some of the games last season,
yeah,
which kind of led to subpar results in some ways. But I feel like with Skinner, there's already a sense of purpose. There's already a sense of idea. There are already some cases where you can see the women get the balls into certain areas, and then you figure out, hey, look, this has been done before. This has been practiced on the training ground, and it definitely feels like a training ground routine. For example, I believe Leah Galton's goal in the Rangers game, in that far left corner, it kind of had that training ground build-up sort of thing,
yeah.
especially the 1-2 with Ivana Fuso that led to the opening up of that
Opening up,
defense.
yeah, yeah.
So I do feel like Skinner's already gotten off to a really good start here.
Yeah,
And especially with Rangers, it's great to see Liziana and Jane Ross again after
yeah,
they've
yeah.
left the club.
It's a kind of a
Uh,
big reunion, huh?
it was a very big reunion, but obviously the results what matters. We got the points, well, we got the goals, obviously, and more momentum for ahead of the
Yeah,
season.
yeah. And talking about like moving from the friendlies, like there were a lot of outgoings when it came to women's team, and few of the incomings which we'll be talking about. But specifically talking about outgoing, one name which strikes to the eyes is Lauren James, and
Yeah.
going directly to the exactly to the London side of the, like the blue side of London, and it hurts more. Yeah, but there is a like the brother sister thing going around into the Chelsea thing. But fine, you cannot deny that we lost a bigger star in blue.
Yeah, exactly. Like Lauren James, I think when we heard about the possibility of her moving back to Chelsea, I think it was just a case of like magnetism. We wanted to pull her back in because she's such a brilliant player already. And
Absolutely.
you have to hope that, with Chelsea, like they already have such a star-studded squad. Like they've got, I can name Sam Kerr, Frank Kirby, Melanie Leupolz,
Kirby is the main because
Sophie
like
Ingle, Kerr and Kirby. They're the who have been insane in combination play throughout the previous season.
yeah,
They were the reason that they took the title down to the wire and then saw it through. But yeah, overall, Chelsea have such a star-studded squad, and Lauren James, I really hope she gets a really good amount of game time to
yeah,
bring the best out of her. I'm sure Emma Hayes is going to do well with her.
yeah,
But thankfully, we were able to get someone in from Chelsea as part of that deal, which is a fellow fullback. Well, I say fellow for Onabache. She's going to work on the opposite side. It's Hannah Blundell, who has made appearances in the preseason
it's a
friendlies, and
swap
she
deal,
did
right?
impress me.
It came
It's a
because
part swap deal. It's a
yeah,
part swap deal. I think the cash sum offered was around £50,000, and
this
then those players would be going the opposite ways. So yeah, Hannah Blundell comes in as part of that. Obviously, in terms with other outgoings, there are loads to name.
yeah.
I think
Heath was
Heath
there.
and
Turner. One of them. One more name was Sixworth. So that was the name which.
Sigsworth. Yeah, Sigsworth. She I think in the previous seasons with us, she did kind of peter out a bit, but
Yeah,
obviously it's a fresh start for her, and she's reunited with Charlie Devlin, one of our former Devils at Leicester City, who came up from the Championship last season.
yeah.
Those two are going to be really important for them, I think, in the
And
following
like
season ahead.
talking about like outgoings, like two names which strike to me like they shouldn't have been like sold, but definitely deserve to be loaned were Ramsey and Bone. So definitely these two outgoings, and along with Bentley is also going on loan. But talking about Ramsey and Bone specifically, they definitely required to be going outside on loan because they have that talent to come up the ranks for Manchester United. To be honest,
Yeah, all three loans I think are pretty well deserved. Emily Ramsey going, I think, to Birmingham, Fran Bentley to Bristol, and then Tara Bone to Sheffield United in the Championship. I think all three are going to get some really good experience. Tara Bone has already impressed at centre back
yeah,
for Sheffield. I think there was one in one recent game, she did that sort of like and Love does for Manchester United quite often, and I think she did assist Courtney Sweetman Kirk. However, it was ruled out for offside,
okay,
unfortunately. But Tara is already making a really good impression over there. Emily Ramsey's going to get some really good experience down at Birmingham,
definitely the minutes
and
count at that time.
exactly, that's for sure.
Yeah,
And yeah, if we want to steer back to the permanence, obviously Heath and Press have gone. That was big.
yeah,
And I think the most shocking transfer that we had across all of them, I think, because we covered it live, like on one of our recordings, it was Amy Turner. I
yeah.
think Amy Turner going to Orlando was a bit of a shock for us.
That was the biggest thing
But
which got stuck. Like after like when Stoney resigned at that moment, like it wasn't like it was shattered. And then this news came in. Then Heath, then Press, then Lauren Jens was getting linked. So the removal of the like the resignation from the manager, it indirectly reflected onto the teams and the players going out from the team. So,
well,
but
you could say that. You could say that actually, but for some reason, this transfer window, I haven't paid attention to previous transfer windows from the Women's Super League, but this one in general has had so much influx, like
yeah,
incoming and outgoing for every team across the board. So
absolutely,
I think whether Stoney stayed or went, it would have been in some form like a really big amount of business
it's
to
kind of
occur
a
across the.
revamp which was going to the
Yeah,
ranks.
it's something.
Yeah,
I think it's something that's sorely needed, and especially with the talent that we've brought in,
yeah,
which the club had already planned. I think Casey said that she had also had a hand in some of these incomings.
yeah.
But yeah, like if we can go through all of them, I think they will
Uh,
all add something different to the team.
Absolutely. And
So
talking
like,
about like the players incoming, the first name which comes to the mind is Boa Risa. the midfielder, absolute gem of a signing. What are your thoughts about that? Because I
Yeah,
was pretty
Bor
excited because like they gave out the previews, they gave out some leaks, and then that video came in, which everybody was eagerly waiting for, to be honest.
yeah, Borisa is someone who was linked, I think, a couple of months before any signing. She's a midfielder from Sandviken. She'll be in the holding sector, which means she'll be teaming up basically. Not let's just not say fighting, but like teaming up with the likes of Jackie Groenen and Katie Zellem, and that's a really good trio to have in
Yeah,
your holding midfield sector because she's really, really smart on the ball, very purposeful, like
yeah,
but in the deep sector and in the advanced areas. We can see that
absolutely.
throughout the friendlies, and she's going to be brilliant for us. Then one signing I wasn't expecting to see at all
Is
was
it?
Sophie
Let me guess
Bagley.
it. Let me guess. Is it okay? Just said it aloud.
I,
Said it
I
loud.
I wish I could allow you that opportunity, but honestly, uh, yeah, like Sophie Bagley coming in from Bristol City was a real shock to me because I'd have thought we'd have given Emily Ramsey a second go at the number 2 spot, but with that loan signing, with the loan being announced and Bagley coming in, it was brilliant because she's been one of the she was amazing for Bristol
Yeah,
last season, even
tremendous
though
to
they
be
got
honest.
relegated.
Yeah,
Even though they got relegated, Sophie Bagley was someone who we thought, she shouldn't be playing in the championship, especially since we
it's
had a
like
player.
you remember when we watched Said Benrama when Benford was going tremendous and was
Exactly,
looking out
exactly,
for to get promoted, and then they didn't get. But next year definitely they came in, but they didn't have Benrama. Can you see such kind of
exactly. Like
situation
that.
happen with Bristol?
There are some players who you see in the going down from the first division or in the second division who are too good to be in the
Yeah,
second division. Sophie Bagley was definitely one of them, and I was
absolutely.
surprised to see her come in, but it's brilliant.
But
Then
yeah,
also,
to be honest, like when the team gets relegated, may that be men's team or the women's team, that definitely impacts because like they do not have that wage structure to be going through. They do not have the funds to bring the players, so they have to manage some kind of cash in which gets flown for replacements or even the betterment of the current players.
yeah, 100%, 100%. I agree with that. They do need the ways to steady the ship
Yeah,
despite relegations to keep their team afloat. And I think in sometimes they do work that out. They do work it out.
yeah.
Bristol City should be all right, and
I
we'll see
hope.
how
I
they go in
hope.
this season. Bristol City should be okay. We'll see how it goes. They've got competition in the championship, but it should be all right. And then, the other two signings that we have, we managed to poach Efi Mannion from Manchester City.
Yeah,
She's a tough centre back, and she'll sort of she'll slot into that Amy Turner role pretty well. She did very well in preseason, partnering up with Millie Turner.
yeah.
And then finally, we signed Martha Thomas from West Ham. She's a striker, and she offers
She got
much
a
needed
debut goal
personnel.
as well.
Yeah, she scored very quickly against Aston Villa,
Yeah,
and she provides much needed numbers ahead because Ivana Fuso still hasn't gotten like she's definitely gotten into some form of speed of things, but she's not a regular as such.
yeah,
And then, Alessia Russo in just 4 games last season, I was blown away. Unfortunately, she suffered that season-ending
yeah.
injury. But she's quality. But Martha Thomas, I feel, has experience. She adds work rate, and she'll be a very reliable option on top, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. And as we talk about the into the friendlies for the pre-seasons, and also like Hansen was there on the score sheet because she has been a bigger influence. Like, wow, like I definitely will be like keeping an eye on her because she's one of the players to watch out for.
And she's gonna go back onto the right hand side very easily. And obviously we love Leah Galton in this house. We stand Leah Galton in this house. So those two wingers are going to be brilliant once again.
Yeah,
And I genuinely can't wait to see how both of them function, especially Hansen coming. Like she's been very, very hype in terms of her social media. She's been posting gym pictures and all that, and everything's been showing up on the pitch in these friendlies so far. So I cannot wait to see how she
yeah.
goes up throughout the season.
And more of like because like in my case this time around, like I never got a chance to watch the friendlies throughout, just the highlights or even the goals or whatever was coming onto the social media was the source for me to analyze this time around. But last time, like I didn't watch the entire season, but like few of the peculiar matches like Manchester United, Liverpool, or like bigger fixtures, the big three into the women's team, I definitely watched out for them. So I hope to watch a bit more games this time around. to get a better analysis of what Skinner is planning. And talking about the last player today is the recruitment into the defense, that is Blundell. What are your thoughts about that, Roshan?
Yeah, I think Blundell was much needed. I think we have Kirsty Smith and Martha Harris already, but I'm going to be very strict here. I don't think they're up to the standard
Yeah,
that Onabachia already came in and
she
like really
delivered it, to be
imposed.
honest. That was an instant impact.
Incredible impact from her. And then we obviously have Maria Thorisdottir, who can deputize at right back as well, but mainly she's also a centre back. So we needed someone on that on the wide sides who could impact both
Yeah,
on the left and the right. And I think Hannah Blundell is a very wise decision in that case. She's definitely someone who I aim to watch this season because I'm already expecting big things from the rest of the back line.
yeah,
But Hannah especially, if she works well and she works let's say similar to how Onabachi works down her side, I think
at
it could
least
be a
match the
very exciting
frequency or the
season.
game sense, to be honest. That's all we expect.
Yeah, pretty much. It's going to be an exciting season, that's for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And talking about the season, like September has already kicked off, and the season is kicking off. I guess today we are recording, and the season is kicking off tomorrow night. Is, if I'm not wrong, according
Yeah,
to IST.
the day we're recording this is in fact the last day of the Women's Super League transfer window.
Yep,
So when we're going to put this out, that's the day the league will actually start. It'll
yeah,
kick off with Manchester United's visit to Reading, and that will be one hell of a kick out to the season. It'll be broadcast
absolutely.
live on Sky Sports for the
Yeah,
UK. You can get
yeah.
it all the way.
And but like when it comes to like talking about the early fixtures, and September is already started, like it's kicking it off, and we are facing Leicester, Chelsea, and Reading. If I'm not wrong, total three of these games will be there in the September. And like in my opinion, of keeping Chelsea away, I expect both the two matches to like to be owned, or at least getting the 3 points out of those three two.
Yeah, exactly. I do feel that we've got a pretty good chance to start the season bright, but when we get to that little 3 match period with those 6 games, we face the big three, Chelsea, City, and Arsenal within a 6 match span.
Span, yeah,
So that's the very first kind of imposing spell that we need to weather the storm from. And in between those three fixtures, we face Birmingham City, who I
yeah.
think we will be all right against.
That is three
Tottenham
points
Hot,
assured, to be honest.
that probably, yeah, like no disrespect to them, but Birmingham, they were fighting for relegation last season. They did survive, obviously, but with Carlo Ward leaving, I think a lot of that managerial, what should I say? I think that assurance is not going to be there as much with
There is no
Carlo Ward, but Scott
definite
Booth is
thing
there.
which is going around with Birmingham, to be honest. Like I'm not much following them, but I just read when the things started to spread apart for them, and they were struggling to just survive to at the end of the season. But they somehow managed. But that was a breakpoint for them, to be honest.
Yeah, they do have a lot of problems. Like the club overall, both the men's and the women's side, there's a lot of problems at Birmingham right now. So for them to even stay up, I hugely commend them and Carla Ward for that. Carla Ward
Yeah.
has obviously moved to Aston Villa,
Yes.
and Scott Booth has come in her place. So I think Birmingham, we'll see how they go. I'm not
Yeah.
very confident for them, but facing them, obviously we're going to love it. And then obviously Spurs, another team who have done slightly worse than what I was expecting to see last season because of my expectations from the men's side. I wasn't expecting Spurs women to be like slightly further below the table, but yeah, Spurs and then Everton in that 6 match span along with the big three. So
I
that's
don't
the
want to
first
even take
real.
the women's name at the last. What I'm seeing onto this spreadsheet, which is Arsenal, but my God, this
Yeah,
club is absolute into shatters currently. But let's see what comes up for them. And because like it's very hard to like at the start, it was fun to go around for them, cheat out for them, or like to go for the throat. To be honest, may that be men's team or women's team. So, but now it has come to the point that it is going beyond. Like the water is going beyond the head. So let's hope for their betterment, and let's see what it comes up with, because the rivalry is definitely there when it comes to Arsenal and United.
yeah,
And
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
And also even last season's games, we slogged for like 83 minutes at home
Yeah,
before we could get the winner. We could get the winner from Everton, and then in the away game, Arsenal completely wiped us out.
yeah,
And we're going to face the same. It's going to be incredibly tough once again in February because we're going to face Arsenal and City both in away games. So that's another really imposing
that was
amount
a
of.
like a decider kind of thing when it comes to the
It's
season.
probably, yeah, I think that February period is really going to decide where we go, because
Yeah,
obviously you've got the big three to watch out for, but then also you've got teams from under us who've been nipping at the bud to try
yeah,
and
yeah. They
to
are
try
chasing out
and
like, and
overtake us.
like underdogs have been pretty much the biggest things to be talked about of every season. So let's see who comes up for the better challenge. And do you have any like chances of going for what are the expectations for this season? Because
Well,
at
yeah, when
least for
you
me, a little better progress into the cup tournaments and also is what I'm expecting. I cannot say about the season, but let's see what are your thoughts about that.
well, you're right when it comes to underdogs, because there are a couple of teams below us really waiting to, snatch
Yeah,
points away from us and places, because we had only just lost out by 1 point, but there are a couple of teams below us who did really well in this summer as well, like in the previous season, and they've boosted their squad in the summer. I'd like to point out Everton, who have had a
yeah,
really good transfer window. They've brought in Ken Zadali, they've brought back Tony Duggan, they've signed Anne Vagard, who has won the Golden Boot in her division, like back
yeah,
in her home country, for 2 seasons straight before coming here. So that's a really good, bit of transfer business from them. And also Aston Villa, who have had a quite remarkable transfer window. Like if I read these names out to you, you're going to be surprised if you know
absolutely.
anything about them.
Yeah, definitely.
So like they've brought in Alicia Lehman from West Ham, who's a brilliant striker in her case. Hannah Hampton from Birmingham City, who's another goalkeeper, another young goalkeeper who starred even when they got relegated. It was like her and Bagley out of the two of them. If you needed someone from that homegrown quota, you definitely take one of those two.
Definitely, yeah,
Then Chantal Boychlorka, who's pretty experienced from Everton and someone who impressed me whenever I watched her.
yeah.
And also Sarah Mailing, who works on the right hand side, whether it be as a
It,
midfielder
winger or a
or
midfield.
as
It
exactly
still like early days of like entire owning the wing kind of thing.
pretty much she covers all of the space down there, and yeah, she posed a lot of threat. Uh, you know, whatever kind of threat Birmingham had, it definitely came from her side, especially in terms of crosses and all that, in terms of deep play. So it's going to be
Yeah,
really interesting to see how Aston Villa manages the season. Obviously, they have a new manager as well in Carla Ward, once again from Birmingham City. So she kind of came and
the
then
name
took
has
some of
been
the best
popping up
players
onto
from there.
the podcast for quite a long now. So
Yeah,
expectations
it
are
is.
definitely getting raised for Villa as well.
Very much, very much. So it's going to be a very interesting season. It's going to be a very fun season.
Yeah, yeah,
As per my expectations, again, like in terms of the cup, we only survived one round. We beat Burnley 6-0 and then lost to Leicester in our last game of the season. And yeah, that desire is still there in the league to
yeah,
break into that top three.
yeah.
We were so close last season. We have improved.
We were almost there.
We were nine. 19-20 का फर्क था, I'm telling you,
Absolutely,
honestly.
absolutely.
Like, but I do feel with some of the signings that we've made, we've strengthened in areas where we definitely have needed to. Uh,
And the stakes are high, to be honest.
yeah, it's really good. He doesn't expect us. Marc Skinner has said he doesn't expect us to be active on deadline day, which is a bit of a it's a bit unfortunate. Need a bit more depth in that attacking line behind
Yeah,
the front striker, but I do feel that this team has what it takes to really break that top three. We just need to be sure to perform to
yeah,
all expectations, and when those big games come, we need to be on it 100%.
absolutely.
I've got faith in
On the
this team
toes.
for
It
sure.
should be on the toes because this time top three should be the aim, is what I'm also feeling. Because like in cup, to be honest, like first round clearance and then exit in the cup is definitely not what Manchester United deserves or what they should be going for. It should be at least moving. I'm not expecting to be directly going into the finals or stuff, but at least progressing into the cup is a better thing. What I feel.
Yeah, these cup formats especially have been a bit different. That's something we can look at like off screen
Yeah,
or whatever. But we do need to progress there for sure.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, the main thing is like breaking that trifecta. Obviously,
absolutely.
Arsenal have obviously Arsenal have strengthened in their own way, I do think Mana Iwabuchi they've obviously let go of a couple of big names as well, but
Yep.
you know, there's still a team who has the league's highest ever top scorer and an incredibly stacked support cast. So they
Yep.
are going to be tough. Chelsea and Man City, we all know about. So it really is going to be a fight to the death, in my opinion. We just need to win it.
Yep, yep, absolutely. With that, I guess we'll wrap it up for the day because that's more than enough for getting started our season. It's kind of a season pack starter kit, getting into the incomings, outgoings, the manager, the formation, the players to watch out for, and definitely the expectations. With that, me and Roshan are signing off from the Voices of the Devils. This was for Manchester United women's team. Thank you guys. See you
And
soon.
also, and also this one's for Ella too, and it's her birthday.
Absolutely.
Putting this as well. 22 years old. Happy birthday, Ella.
Happy birthday, Allah.
And when we come back, and when this video releases later tonight, we'll see them in action for the first
Yeah,
time
yeah,
in
absolutely.
2021 to 22. My God, it's going to be a good one.
It's a GGMU to the moment for the night. Bye bye. Thank
Best
you,
of luck,
guys.
ladies. It's going to be mad. All right.
Yeah,
Take care.
bye bye.